Hello and welcome to the green. I recently had a birthday and I did some updating to my equipment. I've got a new camera, which I bought myself, and I got some new lighting. As you can see, it's green. There's also red and blue. I'm going to be trying those as well, but green is my favorite color. The little flaps that came to create the color, they're actually a yellow, I think, but when they shine, it turns green, and that makes me very happy. Alright, so this is part 4 of my 2020 recent reads, but it's been a while since I've done this, and I was thinking that I'm going to have to split it up into 3 parts, because I want to do what I've been reading, what I am reading, and lastly I want to do some of the books, if not all the books, that I DNF'd. And so this is part 1, and this is what I have been reading, or what I read in the last couple of months. And I'm going to split that up too, because there's like 15 books, I think. I can't remember exactly. But so this is the first 8, and the first one here, actually, I don't know if I mentioned already or not, but I did a buddy read with my friend Kasha, and we read Kill Creek, and we buddy read this together, as I sort of mentioned. We did it through Twitter messages, so it was sort of like a chat, and that was a lot of fun. So I'm just going to read the synopsis here quickly, and you know what, I think I actually discussed this book already. Can't remember exactly, but I'm going to talk about it again, because this is going to become a favorite, and you can read this at Halloween every year, I think, and it would be a lot of fun. Alright, so I'm going to read the synopsis for some of these books, because it's been a while. So, at the end of a dark prairie road, nearly forgotten in the Kansas countryside, is the Finch House. For years it has remained empty, overgrown, abandoned. Soon the door will be opened for the first time in decades, but something is waiting, lurking in the shadows, and anxious to meet its new guests. When best-selling author Sam McCarver is invited to spend Halloween night in one of the country's most infamous haunted houses, he reluctantly agrees. At least he won't be alone. Joining him are 3 other masters of the macabre, writers who have helped shape modern horror. But what begins as a simple publicity stunt will become a fight for survival. The entity they have awakened will follow them, torment them, threatening to make them a part of the bloody legacy of Kill Creek. And this book is sort of like a haunted house. Well, it's not sort of, it is a haunted house story, but it takes all the tropes of a haunted house story and it runs with it. And it just becomes very much something you're reading because it's fun. It's very much an ode to horror. I remember saying that somewhere. And definitely read this if you haven't, especially now, because the night they stay at the manor or at the house, it's on Halloween, and so we're getting close to Halloween now in 2020. I always count September and October as like the Halloween months, because then November and December are dedicated to Christmas. So there's that. All right, next up, I read Worse Angels by Laird Barron. Now this is an awesome book as well. This is book 3 of the Isaiah Coleridge series, and I'm hoping that there will be a 4th, because this is an awesome series. And although you can read each of these books on their own, you do not need to read any of the previous books. The series could end here, but it's also open for it to continue. Isaiah's story is not done yet. And I really love this book. I love the series. I want to reread them at some point. And Laird Barron, he's my man. I absolutely love Laird. To be honest, Laird is definitely one of my favorite authors. because I've read almost everything he's published. There's one novella that I haven't read yet, and actually there's two, but there's one that I haven't really read. The other one is X's for Eyes, and for some reason that one didn't gel for me, and I DNF'd it. But everything else I've absolutely loved by him. All right, next is Pop 1280, and this is by Jim Thompson. This is a modern classic, at least in my estimation it is. And this is a story about Nick Corey. He's a terrible sheriff, and he does it on purpose. He doesn't solve problems, enforce rules, or arrest criminals. He knows that nobody in the tiny Potts County actually wants to follow the law, and he is perfectly content lazing about, eating 5 meals a day and sleeping with all the eligible women. Still, Nick has some very complex problems to deal with. The 2 local pimps have been sassing him, ruining his already tattered reputation. His girlfriend, Rose, is being terrorized by her husband. And then there's his wife and her brother Lenny, who won't stop troubling Nick's already stressed mind. Are they a little too close for a brother and sister? With an election coming up, Nick needs to fix his problems, and fast. Because the one thing Nick does know is that he will do anything to stay sheriff. Because as it turns out, Sheriff Nick Corey is not nearly as dumb as he seems. So this book, I got the recommendation to read this from Laird Barron, not personally. He was on a podcast and he was talking about this book, and I was like, I gotta go read that, because I do like Jim Thompson. I've read 1 or 2 of his books before, and I wanted to read more, and I thought Pop 1280 would be a great place to start, considering. And I wasn't wrong. This book is weird. Not in a weird fiction sense. It's just weird because the main character, Nick Corey? He's that evil sort of sheriff, and he manipulates people. That's what he does. And he comes across, and he does this on purpose, but for the first part of the book. And if you don't want spoilers, just wait until the picture's gone, and then come back. But Nick Corey plays dumb, and he wants people to think he's dumb, because once you think he's dumb, it's easy for him to make you do what he wants you to do. And of course there's murder and terrible things. Nick kind of finds himself in a bit of a downward spiral where he has to keep killing people in order to keep the previous murder secret. But he plays the people around him, the people who suspect what he's done, so well that you'll have to read on to see if he does get caught or not, because I'm not going to give that away, but it's a brilliant piece of crime fiction. Okay, moving on to book number 4. Now, I did a review for this, and if I remember, I'll put one of those things up here for that, and it'll also be down there in the description, or the show notes, whatever you want to call it. And this is Dear Laura by Gemma Amor. This was my first Gemma Amor book that I read, and I really enjoyed it. It's about, just to briefly describe it, it's about 2 friends, a girl and a boy, Laura, and I think it's Tommy. And one day, she sees Tommy go into like a van, and then the van drives away, and she never sees him again. And now the guy who took Tommy, he starts sending her letters telling Laura that he's killed Tommy, and if she wants to find the body, then she has to do what he wants, and eventually he will reveal where the body is. And this is a very twisted story about, again, manipulation, and although most of their relationship between the serial killer and Laura is done through letters, there's still very much a relationship there, and the whole thing feels like a very abusive and dark relationship, and I can't recommend it enough. I I was blown away, and I wasn't expecting to be blown away, but then again, I guess you never are. Alright, number 5, I read The Skin We're In by Desmond Cole. Now, this is an interesting book because it's a nonfiction book, and it deals with the racism that runs in Canada, and yet Canadians keep going on thinking that we are not racist, not like America. But if you look at the cases that Desmond Cole presents in this collection of essays, each essay is pretty much a case. You will find that Canadians are not all that different from America. Now here is the synopsis. A bracing, provocative, and perspective-shifting book from one of Canada's most celebrated and uncompromising writers, Desmond Cole. The Skin We're In will spark national conversation, influence policy, and inspire activists. The year, I cut some of the, because this synopsis goes on for a very long time, so I cut out, I think, one paragraph. So continuing on, the year also witnessed a profound personal and professional ramifications of Desmond Cole's unwavering determination to combat injustice. In April, Cole disrupted a Toronto Police Board meeting by calling for the destruction of all data collected through carding, which was a very interesting thing, the whole carding thing that the police were doing on. Basically, it was supposed to be everybody, but they pretty much just picked on black people or people of color. Following the protest, Cole, a columnist with the Toronto Star, was summoned to a meeting with the paper's opinions editor and informed that his activism violated company policy. Rather than limit his efforts defending black lives, Cole chose to sever his relationship with the publication. Then in July, at another police board meeting, Cole challenged the board to respond to accusations of a police cover-up in the brutal beating of Devontae Miller by an off-duty police officer and his brother, and that was just brutal. It was awful. The guy didn't even do anything to, and this is mostly the case. The person of color in question is just walking down the street, and here comes a cop. It's time to beat this person for no reason. When Cole refused to leave the meeting until the questions were publicly addressed, he was arrested. The image of Cole walking out of the meeting handcuffed and flanked by officers fortified the distrust between the city's black community and its police force. Month by month, Cole created a comprehensive picture of entrenched systemic inequality, urgent, controversial, and unsparingly honest. The Skin We're In is destined to become a vital text for anti-racist and social justice movements in Canada, as well as a potent antidote to all the too present complacency of many white Canadians. And there's just to go say what I was saying, that most Canadians are like, oh, we're not racist, not like the States, and it's not true. In fact, people saying that shows that they're choosing to show their blindness by not seeing. I mean, it's on the news all the time, and yet we're not racist like the States. Moving on, I read A Mind Spread Out on the Ground by Alicia, I don't know where I got Alicia from, Alicia Elliott. Now this came recommended to me from one of, speaking of Alicia reads, her channel, I'll link it below and up here if I remember. She reviewed this book and it sounded really cool to me because I've been interested in Indigenous peoples, in Canada especially, because, well, that's where I'm from. And this is another collection of essay-like pieces of nonfiction that really speaks about the Indigenous experience in Canada and in the States, because I believe, if I remember correctly, Alicia Elliott was born in the States but moved to Canada. Now let me read you the synopsis here. In an urgent and visceral work that asks essential questions about the treatment of Native people in North America while drawing on intimate details of our own life and experience with integrational trauma, Alicia Elliott offers indispensable insight into the ongoing legacy of colonialism. She engages with such a ranging topics as race, parenthood, love, mental illness, poverty, sexual assault, gentrification, writing, and representation, and in the process makes connections both large and small between the past and present, the personal and political. From overcoming a years-long battle with head lice to the way Native writers are treated within the Canadian literary industry, her unplanned teenage pregnancy, to the history of dark matter and how it relates to racism in the court system, her childhood diet of craft dinner, to how systemic oppression is directly linked to health problems in Native communities. And yes, if you were paying attention there, you did hear right. She takes dark matter and she compares that to systemic racism. And the one thing I really enjoyed about this book was how Alicia continuously makes the reader confront themselves. And I don't think anyone who's unable to confront themselves would be able to finish this book. They'd think it was rubbish and throw it away. And that's unfortunate, but we all know that those people exist. I next read Indian Horse by Richard Wegamise. And it's interesting how I came across this book, because it was Christmas Eve 2019 when, as an Audible member, I was on the Audible site looking for a book, and Indian Horse by Richard Wegamise was offered free. If it wasn't free, it was like 99 cents. I know it wasn't very much at all, and I was like, this looks good. And so I picked it up. And I didn't listen to it until just recently. And I'm glad I did, because it's a very, very well-written piece of literature. Now here is the synopsis for this one, which I don't think is quite as long as these other ones have been. Saul, Indian Horse, has hit bottom. His last binge almost killed him, and now he's a reluctant resident in a treatment center for alcoholics, surrounded by people he sure will never understand him. But Saul wants peace, and he grudgingly comes to see that he'll find it, only through telling a story. With him, readers embark on a journey back through the life he's led as a northern Ojibwe, and all its joys and sorrows. I'm going to leave it at that, because this is a fantastic book with a lot of love and passion for hockey. And this is a fiction book, I should have mentioned right off the bat. But it's interesting in how it's told, because I think this book is about not just about being a native Canadian, but it's also and the experience of that. It's also a story about alcoholism. This was my first Richard Wegamise, and it will not be my last. I already got Medicine Walk somewhere here, and I plan on reading that very, very shortly. We are finally at the end of this first video, and I reread this book here, the Cipher. Now Alex from Hey Little Thrifter, she's always she loves Kathy Koja, and so did I. I don't mean did as in a past tense, but I remember when she first read the Cipher, and this was the only book I've read by her. When she read it, she gushed about this book, and I was like, yeah, this is awesome, isn't it? And I kept meaning to reread it, because I wanted to see. It's been quite a long time since I reread it, and you can tell this copy is like pretty beaten up. But I bought it used for like $3, $4, and so I wanted to reread it again. And Charlene from Char's Book Corner, Horror Corner, actually I think it's called. I read in a review of hers on Goodreads that she listened to the audiobook of it, and she said she was completely blown away. And so I decided to give the audiobook a try, and it is phenomenal. I mean, the narrator, should have looked it up before I talked about this, but he takes the first, I believe it's first person narrative, and he makes it his own. He becomes the main character, and and this is a very strange, very fucked up book about a hole in the floor where a couple, a man and a woman, become obsessed with. And again, this book is about bad relationships, very abusive relationships, and obsession and addiction, and you know what it's like to be young and living you know, a kind of unhealthy lifestyle. So if you haven't read this book, you need to fix that. Fix it now, because this book is fantastic. This is actually getting a re-release, not with this nifty cover with the flap thing. And as I just mentioned, it was re-released as an audiobook as well, so definitely pick it up. I believe it's out now, so like in the re-release form, so check it out. This book, actually in this form, even beaten up like this, is probably worth a good $20 or so. But I'm keeping it. This is mine. I've had it for quite some time now. Alright, so that is the end of part 1 to my what I've been reading recently. And next I will finish off what I've been reading. There's another few, another 8 books, and then I will do a video on the DNFs and what I'm currently reading, because I've got some reading projects on the go where I'm taking a real long, smooth time in journeying into something new. So thank you for watching, especially if you made it this far. Keep being safe, be kind to each other, because kindness is free. Keep being creative, and I will catch you guys in the next bookish video.